You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the host or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Well, hello, and welcome. This is Oscar Hines. Welcome to Ninja Talks, the show that slices to the truth, right? And I have with me the wonderful and talented Miss Jen Colmenares. I like to use the S. Now that we got two of you up here, it's plural, by golly. So we are going to have some amazing conversation today, but why don't you introduce this wonderful gentleman to my right?
Yes, my chauffeur for the day. We're gonna have some awesome conversation. Y'all meet Carl Colmenares, my dad, the man, the myth, the legend behind all of this.
Well, you know, when I met him just a little while ago, I said, "You do good work."
Yeah, you did say that.
So, and he's a handsome guy here,
Yes.
So
yes.
but we're not just that's Greek to me. No, so we are not just here for your good looks, by golly.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
See how cool he is.
Oh man, no, I love it. So Carl, you have been for a very long time in your career a manager, an organizer, and a person that really helped to integrate a lot of people in the field of sales and in the field, I like to call it, of sort of human relations. So it's not just the good looks, right? It's everything else that goes along with it. So
it's the whole package.
Exactly.
My mom calls him the silver fox.
Ooh, look at that! I absolutely love it. The silver fox. I was the silver surfer, so I was I was like, yeah, I'll own that,
I'd own it for sure.
Except your field is a little fuller than mine these days, but anyway, let's get to know the man here. Tell us a little bit about you, and then let's dive into a great part of a conversation I want to have with you.
Okay. Well, I'm a native Houstonian, and I have been in sales now going on 50 years, a little over 50 years. And my first job was in construction, and that led into a sales position for one of our suppliers, and I've been in sales ever since.
Wow. Now, a lot of people, when they think about sales, I hear it all the time because I've been in sales, love it. And people are, I don't know how to say, I don't do sales. Oh, I'm like, so that's like a 4-letter word, except with an extra letter. So from that standpoint, what do you think is sort of the fear that most people have around a sales situation or scenario?
What are they going to say next? And that's a fear from inexperience, because you shouldn't be worrying about what you're going to say next. You should be paying attention to what the prospect or the client or the person to whom you're speaking is saying at the present.
Yes.
And what they say in the present moment will determine what you say next. And you need to have one objective, I've always believed, and that is to serve the client. And whatever you say should be truthful, and it should serve the purpose of the client.
Yes. Now, see, that integrity is going to really establish some of this rapport. Now let me go back a little bit, because on Ninja Talks we like to really slice it up a little bit, and what I like to call, from a book I read, thin slicing. So in this book, the author, have you heard of thin slicing? It's a fascinating.
I'm like, all I can think of is the meat counter.
No, we're not talking bologna here, Jen.
I think of the meat counter. I'm like, no, that's a 10. Let's go down a little.
No, that's right. No, so this is a fascinating conversation in this respect. So the book is predicated on this idea that when you meet somebody, within 30 seconds, we thin slice. We've made evaluations about who they are, their education, their intellect, their spiritual level, like all these different nuances of who somebody is, and it happens immediately. Now, as a trained salesperson, 50 years, that's a half a century of selling. That's formidable. Certainly, I thought I was a bad dude, and now I'm like, that's a lot.
At it.
And still at it. Wow.
I'm still at it.
So then let's talk about your process for evaluating somebody before they ever open their mouth. What are you looking for? What are the signs that you're looking for to sort of delve into how you approach?
Well, first of all, I don't believe in cold calling. I believe that you should at least try to find something out about the person that you're visiting with before you go. So it's not a completely cold call or cold presentation. Sometimes you can't find out any information, but usually you can find out something. Mm-hmm. A zip code, a phone number, where they're from, something about them. And then when we meet, I guess the first thing I do is I watch the person's facial expression. Watch their eyes particularly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that will let you know, a wide-eyed acceptance, a narrow-eyed kind of suspicion, and it gives you a feeling of how gregarious or how detailed you need to be, or can you cover the big picture, or do we need to get down to the nitty-gritty? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you can determine all that in just a few seconds.
Wow.
And that thin slice.
Okay.
I'm like, now that's for you to run with Ninja Communications.
Oh yeah,
guy.
no. I love what you just said. I love what you just said, because you're really talking about the nuances of reading the body language.
Yes.
So I will say this. I cut my teeth in sales I was born in Costa Rica, but I grew up in New York. And New Yorkers have a way of communicating. Everybody, not for nothing. We're not talking about like the way they talk. I'm talking about the way these guys like actually are. So they cut to the chase, like when you meet. So I came to Texas from New York. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was in my early 20s. I was young and dumb and full of stuff. Right. Leave it at that, right? And it was bizarre, because when I came, it was like, hi, I'm Oscar, and this is what I'm here for. And people were like, whoa, because here there's a different way to sort of establish rapport. Can you dissect that for us for a moment?
Well, the New York approach is very factual, very fact-based, not so much relationship-based. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. From the way you described it.
Yes.
In the South, we're all about relationships. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that's the first thing we generally try to do is establish a rapport, a relationship. And Oscar, to tell you the truth, the difference between now and 30 years ago is 180 degrees.
Really? How so?
Well, before it was, you would try to figure out, okay, what's on this desk? What can we talk about that we can communicate about? What does he have in common that I've got in common? Something like that. That has evolved now into more of a deep, true relationship. And when you need to let the prospect, the client, whomever you're speaking with, know that you're really interested in them.
Yes.
Get away from the surface stuff.
Right.
and get into the soul of the matter.
They don't know how much you care. They don't know. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
The adage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's powerful because I think people respond, to that in a very genuine way when they know you just care about them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things I think, and that is care. It is the caring.
Yeah.
You can't teach someone to care.
True.
Either they are a caring person,
mm-hmm.
or they're not.
Right.
Now you can develop skills
mm-hmm.
that can make you appear to be a caring person,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they're not going to carry you out through ordeals in the long run.
Right.
And when you show someone that you really care, when you ask the right questions, when you're not afraid to delve in and get out what's really at the core of what they're trying to achieve in their life,
right?
And how can you help them do that?
Mm-hmm.
Then once you get that rapport going, then you're on the path to success.
Yes. Wow, I couldn't agree with you more. That is, and it's a wonderful way to sort of capsulize the importance of building the relationship before you go into, my general mantra is, let's just talk about what you want. This is a blank canvas right now, so we have to just know what you want. And once, to your point, you ask those right questions, then somebody opens up and they know that you really care and you're a champion for their business, or you're a champion for their family, or whatever the case might be. So, when that happens, that's a pretty powerful combination. So wonderful insight. So folks, those just joining us, this is Ninja Talks here on the Edge Radio TV. I am absolutely stoked to have two Colmenaires in the house today.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! And in a little while, we are going to bring up a little magic secret sauce.
Yes,
and I'm going to tell you, it's going to get saucy in here because I already know where I want to go with this second guest. But before we do that, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment with Mr. Carl Colmenares. Back in just a moment.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Aren't you tired of not getting what you want in bed?
Are you ready to spice things up behind those closed doors?
Woo! We're here for you every hump day at 7 p.m.
This is Sex on the Edge with Jen and Hen. I'm Jennifer Reeves.
And I'm Hendrik Scott, and we are professional licensed sex therapists.
So remember to watch us Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Edge Radio TV, just in time for sexy time.
And we are back. This is Ninja Talks here on the Edge Radio TV network. We are talking with Mr. Carl Colmenares. So Carl, just before the break, you really were dissecting the nuances of what you look for inside of an initial encounter, and then this idea of building rapport. Now, a lot of our listeners, many will say, well, I'm not in sales, so I don't know that this is really relevant. But one thing that is relevant is this idea of building rapport. If you had to sort of unpack that a little bit in terms of what are the dynamics behind connecting with someone and doing it quickly, because we live in a busy world. We don't always have time to talk for 30 or 40 minutes. So how do you build rapport in a sort of succession that
in that thin slice?
And the thin slice questions. That's the fastest way. I have found, and it's interesting. But I'm actually an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not one of those rah-rah people all the time. And I like to ask questions so that I'm getting input. I'm not doing all the talking. You're doing all the talking. You're doing all the talking. You're not selling anything.
Yes.
And you're not establishing rapport. So you want to get feedback initially. Just start right off the bat with a question. Any kind of a question. How do you go about picking out your wardrobe for today?
It's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah.
Well, and I'll add to this something that Hadley has taught me, my daughter, is when you compliment somebody, you compliment them on something that they have a choice on. So you don't compliment them on anything physical, like your eyes, your nose, your hair, because I necessarily don't have control over that, but compliment something that they do have a choice over. Because then automatically you can build that rapport. Like, because then I'm stroking them and letting them know that they make good choices.
Yes.
So I thought that was an interesting perspective from my 18-year-old daughter.
It's an interesting insight.
That's true.
Yes.
Because you do want it to be personal. And that's, for an introvert, that's hard sometimes. Sales is not just the gift of gab, as you know. You have to be able to establish that rapport and communications.
Yes.
Communications is so important. And you can probably see this. I use my hands a lot.
Sure, that's a good thing. Yeah.
It is a good thing, but not everybody will do that. And even the client, if the client is very stoic, this can be distracting.
True. Yeah.
So you need to be aware. You need to pick up on those little things. And if they're stoic, well, tone it down a little bit. If they're gregarious, well, then go ahead and let it flow.
Right.
So just pay attention. I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, something that is striking, and I noticed it almost immediately when we met, which was just a couple of hours ago.
Over breakfast. Mom, I didn't eat.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm fasting.
So something I noticed is you are a very intense listener. There's an aspect to you where your eye contact is there, but you have a patience in your listening, and you're picking up on a lot of little nuances. There's some people that are just really good listeners that they just make you feel like you're being heard. Have you been told that before? Is that just something you look at as a strength?
I haven't actually been told that, but it's a conscious effort. When people, young salespeople, they concentrate so much on saying the right thing,
right,
that they're not listening to what's being said. Correct. And consequently, you end up saying a lot of the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So being a good listener is one of the keys to being a successful entrepreneur in any field.
Yes. That's good stuff. Because listening is such a fundamental skill set. And a lot of people, they miss that. You know, I tell a story about I went to a car dealership, and I was going to present to the manager of the dealership. You know, that's a big deal. Those guys make a lot of money. They're busy. So I walk into this office. I don't know who they are. It's like, oh yeah, Chris is in the back. He'll be out in a moment. So I said, okay, I'm going to meet Chris, right? So they escort me into this beautiful office, and I see Yankee paraphernalia all over the Yankees, the New York Yankees. I'm like, oh, this is here right in Texas on I-45. I'm like, I got this. Oh, I got this. I'm gonna put on my New York shtick because I am an extrovert and I love people. And I'm like, oh, I'll have this person laughing. They're gonna be great. I'm like, not for nothing, I'm from New York. Remember back in so I'm ready to do that. So first surprise is when the person comes out. It's a woman. I went, oh. But then I'm looking at her face. You know how certain people, you guys mentioned you're Greek, you know, beautiful, square, jutted, you know, nice. Well, every different ethnicities have certain, you know, appearances, features. Right? Features. So I look at this lady and I'm like, that's an Italian I'm looking at. And it looks like an East Coast Italian, right?
Oh, you're that good.
Yeah, well, I'm saying the Yankees paraphernalia was the channel.
There you go. Okay.
So I look at her and I said, hi, how are you? I'm Oscar. You know, I've got the radio voice. And she goes, I'm doing just fine. How are you? I went, wow. And I said, well, she said, it's a pleasure to meet you. I said, what am I talking about? Right? So now I'm completely thrown off my rocker. And so now all I could go back to is the paraphernalia. I said, so I tried to be smooth about it. I said, it's wonderful to meet you, and it's wonderful to know that you're a Yankees fan. And I look at her, and she goes, actually, I grew up in Fort Worth, but my dad was a big Yankees fan, and we were from Brooklyn and New York. And I said, really? So I came when I was just a little girl. I said, wow, okay, that makes sense now. Okay, now so you are like a Jersey girl, you're a Brooklyn girl, but
a transplant.
Yeah. So that's what I get for assuming, right? So just in our final moments, if you had some things that you would want to share with young sales professionals. This has been something you've honed your skills over 50 years. What would you say? What would be some advice that you would have for them?
Well, first, I think, and foremost, is to keep what the client needs first and foremost in your conversation. Satisfy that need. I grew up in an area where they called it need satisfaction selling. It's still that, but they don't call it that anymore. But it is. You find out what they need. Don't be so concerned about selling what you have until after you find out what the client or what the prospect needs. Yes, that's what it's all about. And if you're there to sell something that doesn't fit, just say, this isn't going to fit. There aren't too many people that will go, you know, what I have isn't for you, but I know someone that can do it for you. Yes. And I want to help you solve your problems. I can't do it. Oscar can do it. Yes. And don't be afraid to do that. First of all, it frees up your time. You can go find somebody that really needs what you want, what you have. Yes. And the other side of it is that person that you're helping is going to send you someone in the future. That goodness is going to come back. What goes around comes around, and that goodness is going to come back to you. Yes.
No, you're absolutely right. It happened to me this week. This week, someone literally said, he was great. Here, just talk to him. That's awesome. But you're absolutely correct. Wow, what a joy. I see where you get your wonderful qualities. I like this man.
I know. I'm kind of fond of him as
You're
well.
kind of fond.
Yeah,
You've
I'm
grown
kind of fond of
attached,
him,
you
yeah.
know. So that's
Well,
excellent.
And we had great conversations like this on the way in. So he was my chauffeur today, and it was always like I'm so blessed to have access to all of this knowledge.
Yes, well,
I really am.
Well, that's wonderful, and I'm sure you feel equally blessed. You know,
I do feel blessed.
I'm amazing.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're gonna wrap this segment up. Carl, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, Oscar, thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
And do you have any media you want to share for folks to stay connected to you, or?
I tell you, I do. I have a website. You can look me up on Kingwood Business Solutions, and there's a whole myriad of things there that I have to offer, all business related.
Awesome. KingwoodBusinessSolutions.com. Awesome, Mr. Carl Colmenares. It's been a pleasure. I call her Colmenares because I got to get that Spanish vibe.
That's right. You got
So
to learn to trill that R.
That's right. So it has been a pleasure. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Oscar, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So up next, we're going to be joined by a wonderful, wonderful lady that I had the pleasure of meeting sometime back in 2020. We're going to revisit that a little bit, but we're going to have a little bit of a metaphysical conversation, folks. So don't go anywhere because it'll get deep and fun here in just a couple of minutes. Back in just a moment here on Ninja Talks, EdgeRadioTV.com. Back in a moment.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad. Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk About Unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
And we are back. This is Ninja Talks here on Edge Radio TV. We are joined by another amazing lady, Miss Kat. Welcome to Ninja Talks. It is a pleasure to have you here. You do some amazing things, and for those who don't know, you have a amazing practice. I like to call it that. Ta-da! But we're not going to get into that on this show. We're going to stick to this stuff. I got to control.
We're going with other magic.
No, we're going with exactly. That's perfect. We are going to talk about other magic, because some of the magic that you create as a designer, as a decorator, as a stager, in terms of the aesthetic space, is something that you also operate in a very spiritual place. You come from a very spiritual place in doing what you do. And so it's a homogeneous blend of these different worlds, the physical aesthetic environment, and then the spiritual vibrational environment. And I wanted to kind of delve into that piece with you a little bit. First, give us your take on how those two worlds peacefully coalesce.
Thank you for noticing that. As I was telling Jen, who's been on my show, Kat's Home Chat, we kind of have morphed into it beyond our chat and our guests, beyond just the pragmatic and fundamental logistics of, home inspection and home cleaning and design and staging, etc. Because I feel we are all, having a human experience, whether we're selling or dwelling. And what does the human experience encompass or involve? Well, quite honestly, everything. Vibrational, energetically, spiritually, all of those things. And I get chills talking about it because, we're all spiritual beings having this experience, this human experience on Earth. So I would say in many ways, in terms of whether we're staging or design, I do take into consideration feng shui ability, which connects with organization, spirituality, etc. In fact, I've got a guest and author tomorrow who's going to join me talking about that, feng shui, and why it's more important today than ever. As I spoke with Jen earlier, I think it's raising the level of consciousness, and I love that you have this platform and that you're so really in tune with, you're so perceptive because you're a master of communication. Buy his book if you haven't.
Thank you. NinjaTalks.com. Thanks, Miss Kat. Wow. Shameless plug. Yeah, that's right.
I'm reading actually Maureen's book. You can tune in tomorrow and see because I think it's Luminous Spaces. And I love that name,
Luminous. I love that. That's just a beautiful aura, vibrational word.
Luminosity, luminous. And we all strive for that, to raise our level of vibration and spirituality and connectedness to the outdoors, to our insides, etc. So when I go out to do a preview, which I'm going to do after I leave the show, and it's one of those mixed media. So the seller actually has some pieces that I need to determine, will they go in the space for me to put together a cohesive space, or will it be, juxtapositioned? Can I make it work? We specialize in making things work.
Yes.
That's where the fun is.
That's
right. Where the magic happens.
Oh, yes. No, that is absolutely. I like leftovers in my house that I make a really good meal out of. Like that to me. And when you do a masterpiece thing like
Eclectic.
that. Yeah, exactly. So you're taking these different pieces, you're putting them, you're making them work.
And so I'll determine and put a quote for him to say, no, we can't use any of it. Stick it in the garage if there is a garage, or we'll start all over. But we take into consideration, a feng shui ability, spirituality, if you will, metaphysics, in terms of the lighting.
Yes.
Is where you get the luminosity, the direction, the direction of the lighting. How I'm meeting with a lady actually tomorrow after my show that she says, well, I bought the same exact house from the model. We can go to the model. I go, is it positioned exactly the same?
Yeah.
If it's not, we can stop there to get an idea of what you like, what you don't like, but we need to consider and take into consideration the exact positioning of your house, because the light is going to play an effect depending on how the house is positioned.
That's right. That's right.
So, that's just a couple of the elements, that we try to use. We do. It's little known. I have a blog, but it's little known that I do a blessing for every project that we do. Nice. And if you do believe that thoughts are energy, and that things are energy, and spaces are energy, walls are energy, then you have to believe that your thoughts can create good juju, if you will.
Absolutely.
So we do that. One of the simplest examples of that metaphysics of connection that I read, and I believe it was in a Deepak Chopra book, was to think, if you think your thoughts can't manifest, if you think your thoughts don't have power.
Yeah.
I'm thinking right now of a lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is happening?
Yeah.
Slicing open the lemon. I just had it with my water. I'm putting it in my mouth. I'm twirling it around.
Yeah.
And my body is salivating. My mouth is salivating.
Yeah.
That just blows me away.
Yeah. As if you were, in fact, having that lemon.
Thank you for finishing it. Yes.
Yes.
As if I was. Because the body does not know the difference from thoughts.
Yes.
So if you think your thoughts don't affect your body, they do. Your thoughts eavesdrop. Your body eavesdrops on your thoughts.
Yes.
Oh, I like that visual.
Yes.
Choose your thoughts carefully.
I'm here.
That's right.
I'm listening.
Especially if your thoughts are persistent in a particular way that affects and weakens specific parts of the body.
Yes.
Because there's emotional causation that's connected to every facet. I mean, I'm always watching when someone says, "Oh, this part of my body hurts" or "that part hurts," because there's a correlation there. There's an absolute correlation.
There is, and we get into the energy fields and acupuncture and all of that. I'm just teaching my 9-year-old about the chakras, and she's fascinated with stones and quartz, etc. And we went to like a little pop-up show, and she picked out her favorite crystal, which happened to be in the solar plex.
Well, I saw something. Well, I don't. There were two things I saw that was fascinating to me. It just blew my mind. And I'm trying to remember the name of this. It's on Netflix, because I saw it on Netflix, and it's recent. They have these kids in, it was in England, and then they had another city that it was in. They were blindfolding these kids.
I watched it.
Did you see that?
I want one of those blindfolds.
Oh my God.
Yes.
But so they blindfold them, right?
Yes.
And then they said that at first it was
not just a blind, like it's a special blindfold so that their eyes are open in there.
Yeah.
So they're seeing, like they're sensing and feeling everything, but it's pitch black.
Yes. But what starts to happen is these kids are able to read books with this blindfold on, like literally read the words.
Yes.
And then they're roller skating and riding their bicycles without sight, without what we consider sight.
Wow.
And the premise of this was that from a cellular level, all of our whole cellular body and our energetic body can perceive the physical universe around us. That our eyes may be defined as the tool by which we see, but it's not the only means by which we see. Our senses actually are engaging and energetically interacting. And that just blew my mind.
Wow.
Because it speaks to this idea when you talk about the aesthetics, when you walk into a room, or when a room is properly feng shuied, and it's aligned with the sun and the moon and so on, it changes the interaction that people have, presumably, when they walk in that space.
Absolutely. Because, Barb Schwartz, the creator of staging, I had the pleasure of speaking at the first international conference in Rome 3 years ago. And she has so many Barbisms, having what I call having created staging, as it was. But one thing that really was profound to me and reminded me is she said in her speech, staging is a feeling. And I add to that catism, buyers justify price with feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Even our master salesman giggled at that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
it's emotional.
It's too cool to say it, but he meant damn Skippy.
That's right. Well, and you quoted Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
People don't care what you say till they know how much you care.
Yes.
And that's a feeling.
Yes.
And so whether you're selling or whether it's just your space, how do you want people to feel when they come into your space? But as you mentioned, it's on I'm going to say even a subatomic, atomic, and an intracellular level.
Precisely. Well, I love that. And when we come back, I want to pick up on this idea of this intercellular level. but what's cool about what you just said, Kat, is that it is a feeling, and feeling is the language of the body. When we are feeling a certain way, that's the language that if we're sad, if we're whatever, that's our body speaking to us. So that's very powerful stuff. It's eavesdropping. I love that. So cool stuff, folks. I hope you are enjoying this conversation. Every so often I forget you're there. We're just having this is good stuff, but I hope I hope you're eavesdropping right now, and I hope you're sharing, because this is the Edge Radio TV Network. We want to take a quick break. You are listening to Ninja Talks. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay,
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
And we are back. This is Ninja Talks here on Edge Radio TV. It is a pleasure to be speaking with the wonderful Miss Kat. And this has been an amazing conversation so far. Yes. It's like, wow, wait a minute.
With you, it's like, let's just hang on.
Let's hang on. Yeah, this is a roller coaster ride. So let me kind of frame this a little bit, and then get your thoughts around this. So I said there were two fascinating things we saw recently, and one we talked about before the break with the kids that can see that can't see. But there's a scientist that is one of the leading metaphysical scientists. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a Middle Eastern man. But he was talking about quantum entanglement and this idea that every cell is essentially energetically connected to other cells. And the ones that are vibrating at the same frequency, for example, we could take a cell from the body, a couple of cells, and we could take it 100 miles away, and we could actually affect it as long as the cells are alive, and it will react as if it's still attached to the body. So his premise took this a step further. He said, if we know from empirical evidence that we actually have entanglement, we also can surmise, and he proved it mathematically, beyond any reasonable doubt, mathematically, that we could be affecting things on the other side of the universe with what we are doing in this space. And we know that on a physical level, we're interacting with each other, but what we're doing on this physical level, on a spiritual plane, or what we might call a metaphysical plane, is also being affected, and vice versa. So what do you think about all of that? I mean,
absolutely, and I'm not a scientist, so I couldn't give you stats, but I'm familiar with several thought leaders with quantum entanglement.
Yes,
and and it really does come down to we are all connected through these empirical studies and data. If you don't believe we're all connected, not only energetically, everyone on this earth, but in all of the universes.
Correct.
Okay. Gosh, I just watched a documentary.
She went pearl with that. She went universes. Did
Universes.
y'all hear that?
Universes.
I like taking that to the next level.
It's mind-boggling, and I think if we all knew, there's that collective consciousness. We can, as individuals, human beings, collaborate our collective consciousness to make this a better world, to make there better worlds and better universes. But yeah, it's mind-boggling to think, again, because of those facts, that we are quantum entangled.
We are
with everything.
And as you mentioned that, Kat, this idea of making or creating a better world, there was some may be familiar with this. Back in 1992, there was actually a project that was undertaken. They got 7,000 monks from all over the planet, and they all prayed for world peace simultaneously for a week. And it was miraculous. They said terrorist attacks dropped by 79%.
Yes, I read that report. Yes.
I mean, so it does show that we really are entangled, and the conditions that we're seeing on the planet are a manifestation of fear, anger, selfishness, and an expression of violence. But then there are also these amazing examples of peace and beauty and love and creativity.
And that's what we need to focus on. And I think so many people focus on the negative.
Yes.
We cannot control that. In a way, we can control that because the truth dispels darkness. Our level of vibration, when we consciously make effort to raise our level of vibration, and there's 150,000 ways to do that, right? Now today we're doing it.
Yes, we're there. I hope they're feeling it out there. They have to feel it. Oh my gosh!
You have to share it because you are powerful. We are all so powerful. And just this story and study of the monks, I read the same thing. It was like, that's with the mind, guys. That's not with weapons.
No.
That's not with
political,
kind of warfare,
right? Exactly. It's not with more laws and legislation being passed. No. It's with guys sitting down on a rock and praying for peace.
And that's so
wow.
true. Wow. But it all starts going inward. I was listening to something this morning, and it talks about, God is is the light. Like the source is the light. And we talked about this, it's the in-between spaces that it really is. So when you can force it and you can be frustrated, or you can just really sit back and become the light and express outward.
The light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wayne Dyer, I know you're a fan as well. One of his videos before he passed, he talked about an apple pie. And you take a slice of the apple pie and you put it on the plate. Does that slice stop becoming apple pie?
Nope.
And that's what we are. We are of source. Whoever you call source.
That's right.
Jesus, whoever.
Yes.
We are of. And I think that's what we've not been taught or allowed because of our society,
Right.
Well, and even what you were saying, the pie, like we've kind of sectioned it out. Like, okay, so yeah, that's apple pie, that's cherry pie, that's
American
like,
pie.
It's all pie.
It's all pie.
God's over here and I'm over here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, there are divisive thought leaders, which is unfortunate. And the only way to really weaken any society is to divide them. And I feel like that's really at the root of why there's so much. Because if people just united and understood our sameness and understood that we all love our kids and we all want to see the best, what advances? Imagine if synergistically the entire world just simply said, okay, we're putting down these implements of war. Now I'm sounding like John Lennon. See, now everybody in the room got that except probably the guy. Yeah, exactly. But that's really what it would require. And
to all live in a yellow submarine.
But if you divide people, you can control them. Unfortunately,
yes,
Yes.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the divisions, unfortunately, are creating so much more violence and so many more unnecessary things. But it also hampers our progression. I mean, technologically, we're just now figuring out that if we put tons of fuel in a rocket, we could shoot it out of this atmosphere. But the fact of the matter is that there's energy between all of us. Tesla discovered it. He called it 0-point energy, and it's around us, it's in us, it's through us. And he literally, back in the 1930s, had a light bulb that he could light in New York City from California, and he used this quantum field of energy to do it. So and we know that the space between us is not empty, but yet we have so many people that are in that void to use
third dimension.
The third dimension.
They're in the third dimension because because there's no money if we don't have to pay for electricity. There's if those things come to play, and I just feel, I don't know if you all feel it, in the last 10 years, more and more people are taking the veil off and realizing and raising their level of consciousness to say, wait a minute.
Absolutely. My daughter, it was funny, she's 24, and on the 21st of December 2020, it was the official beginning of the lunar cosmology adjusted to the age of Aquarius. So I told her, I said, the dawning of the age of Aquarius was the song everyone heard. I said, remember, they said the dawning, that was the precursor. So tonight is the age of Aquarius. She's like, Dad, tonight? I'm like, yeah, we just started. I said, the only thing is it's going to be a 2,000-year cycle. It's going to take us a minute to really get deep into it. But people's vibration has definitely increased. So we are out of time. This happens very, very quickly on this show when we have amazing guests and amazing conversation.
Yes.
So Ms. Kat, tell folks how they can stay connected to you.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, both of you, for having me. It's been just a joy. It's absolute joy. So I don't think I gave my website last time. www.tada, T-A-D-A-B-Y-K-A-T, tadabykat.com is the best way. That's my website and all my contact information, etc. Of course, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and all of that, but Facebook is probably, or website is probably the best.
Yes. Ta-da by Cat.
Ta-da by Cat.
.com.
Because she's magical.
Magical.
Well, on that note, folks, thank you for joining us. You've been listening to Ninja Talks here on Edge Radio TV. We are here at 415 West Gray. If you'd like to come down and enjoy a live studio audience experience with us, by all means, connect. Come down to 415 West Gray. Of course, every week we have the amazing Jen Colmenares, who does a great job on the Edgy Entrepreneur. And then, of course, we have all sorts of different and wonderful guests. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of our family today. We wish you a continued success in everything you do. We'll be back next week with another version of Ninja Talks.